Oh,
What do you think of that moniker, stakeholder? I'd say that describes you well.
I don't know about that. Maybe.
Person of
I like it when the
influence?
Daily Progress called me a maverick.
A maverick.
When I was running for Board of Supervisors, they said, we like Mr. Smith, but he's kind of a maverick.
I bet you embraced that moniker too.
I did. I embraced it. I took it as a compliment because,
We need mavericks,
Yeah,
especially around here.
Yeah, I'm a pretty independent thinker, and they just said we didn't know how I would get along with everybody else. I was like, why? Because I'll say no, or I'll say prove it, or come up with another idea that maybe is a little bit more conducive to what the whole community needs or my particular area. So,
Earl Smith in the house. If you have some props, you want to give him some props, you got a question for him, if you want a topic for us to discuss, just put it in the feed. I'll relay it on air. We're going to have a lot of fun today with Earl Smith. This guy, born and raised in the area?
Yep, I was born here, Martha Jefferson, the original hospital.
Right.
Yep, lived
The
in
OG.
Belmont. Yep, lived in Belmont till I was 12, and then my parents bought 25 acres out where I live now, out on Scottsville Road.
Fantastic.
Been out there ever since.
It's going to be a fun show today on a Wednesday, a glorious Wednesday. In God's
Can you
country.
say hump day?
Hump day, hump day. I like his energy. Your energy is contagious. I'm sure you've heard that before.
Yeah, but there's a pill for it probably.
It's tough.
It's called tequila.
It's called tequila or bourbon or beer.
No, it's called tequila.
Tequila makes me a little crazy. J-Dobbs, we are in your hands. We're following your lead, sir. Good Wednesday afternoon, guys. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to the I Love Seaville show. Thank you kindly for joining us. We are live in Charlottesville, across the Commonwealth, the country, and the world on the I Love Seaville network. We're presented, guys, by Ting Fiber Internet. We're powered by Ting. We're also presented by Scuba Boutique Dispensary, the newest dispensary, in Charlottesville. It's on the downtown mall right next to Rapture. Scuba Boutique Dispensary is approachable, honest, priced fairly. They got CBD, they got Delta 8, they got what you need if you want to sleep, if you got some anxiety, Scuba Boutique Dispensary. Of course, the good Dr. Scott Wagner. Thank you for being a part of the show. Dr. Wagner of Scott Wagner Chiropractic and Sports Medicine. Today's show, I think, is going to be fun. I think it's going to be entertaining. I think it's going to be lively and dynamic. Many of the characteristics of our guest. The Daily Progress dubbed him a maverick. I'm calling him a stakeholder. His name is Earl Smith. Judah Wickhauer, if you could go to the studio camera, and then the two shots so we can welcome the Maverick himself.
Yay!
Earl Smith. Good afternoon, my friend.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to have you here.
I can tell.
I've seen you in a number of different capacities in my 21 years here. Glad to spend some one-on-one time here.
24 now?
You got jokes. I'm older. I'm actually older than I may look. So why don't we start here? Earl, introduce yourself to everybody that's watching.
Hi, I'm Earl Smith. I'm born and raised here. It's pretty rare being still a Charlottesville, Albemarle County person, and I just into everything and have lots of opinions and really try to stay as inclusive as I can and neutral and probably the most common sense person you'll ever know in your life. So that's about it.
So born and raised, born in Belmont.
Mm-hmm. Grew up in Belmont. Went to Clark School, Buford. Parents decided to move out of town. My dad worked for the phone company here for 40-something years. Was a supervisor when I was probably 6. So, boy, the things I got to do with him that people would put both my parents in jail. I mean, he would take me. One of my greatest memories was probably when I was 10, 11 years old, and I got to go with him and stay out late at night and go get put down into a manhole cover and watch them splicing stuff, and I got to direct traffic And then we went to the burger house right there where Fox's is.
Oh, yeah.
And it used to have a little neon sign guy that would wink at you up on top. And I got a cheeseburger and some French fries and got to watch Johnny Carson.
Man, best night ever.
I was a grown adult. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Get out of town.
But, that's the stuff that you did back then. It's like, my dad trusted me enough to mow the grass with the lawnmower when I was 8. But you just had to know we didn't have stickers back then that said don't put your hands underneath there. He just took a cantaloupe and put it on the ground and went. I said, "Steve, that's your face." So guess what? You don't do that.
All right, well, dude, throw this to you. What years did you live in Belmont?
Oh, God, until 76.
Okay, till 76.
Yep, and I was born in 64, so you figure it out.
Okay. So 60s and 70s.
Yep.
Tell me about Belmont in the 60s and 70s. What do you remember?
Well, I was born in 64, so I remember going around, and that was right after the, God, I'm lost for words all of a sudden. I remember going around and still seeing, the downtown mall, you could walk up, it was still a street. Tons of places you go down there. It had Dixie News and Stacy's Music. God, I always stayed in Stacy's Music down there with old big tall Carl. Hi, Shep. Hi. And I always remember one little fella named Tippy. He used to dance. And my daddy would give him like $1 because he'd go into the liquor store. So I'd say, "Will you watch Earl and tip him out with dance out on the street?" But there was so much, all the police officers, they still, my nickname was Rooster when I was little. And I still see Charlie Vi and a bunch of those guys once in a while that are still alive, and they'll say hi, Rooster, or a bunch of the guys from the old telephone company. So, but that was fun. It was a different time back then, It's a whole lot more fun now.
Well, Belmont now has completely done a 180.
Yeah,
when $500,000 houses, 600, 700,000.
Yeah, that was.
Did you ever think you'd see that?
No. My mother had a nice analogy for that, but I don't think I would say it.
What goes on the internet lives on the internet forever.
Well, it was just saying, you really can't shine a piece of feces or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's a very nice neighborhood. I remember growing up on Monticello Avenue, and you used to be able to ride your bicycle from here straight down to Belmont Park.
Uh-huh.
And of course you had the pool, and all the pools we had here had high dives on them. You had Lake Renovia. You go down there, and you had 3 sections, and one section was like 20-something feet in the air you jump off of. It was just a lot of things you were responsible for yourself, and your parents were very responsible for you. And they taught you how to live. God, I remember when you turned 13. I remember my father telling me, he's like, "You're a teenager now, and you need to do things to help the family."
What'd you do?
Well, you had to start washing your own clothes. You had to do chores. You had to pick up, and you still had stuff to do like that when you were small. But, he really made it known that once you turn 13, you're a teen now and you're responsible. By 16, you're going to drive. You're going to not tear up the family car. If you want to get a job, you get a job. When you were 14, you didn't need to have anybody's permission. My God, you could go out and sling newspapers when you were 12. And I used to help my friend Billy Sperry that lived out on Chesapeake Street, and we'd go, and he had one of the biggest routes down in Belmont, and I would help him, and we split the money, and God, you just did stuff like that. It was fun.
How would you, and you got a lot of people watching, okay? Donna Sears is watching.
Oh, hi, Donna.
From Florida. She says,
Yes.
Tell Earl that I'm his biggest fan, and I'm watching from Florida. Louise Hicks, giving you some props. My brother.
Yes, she's a Belmont queen, too.
Daryl Hammond, giving you some props right now. Let me acknowledge a few other viewers. Keith Davis, Kimberly Powell, giving you props. John Sigarnetti.
Oh, yeah. You did a good job on that.
David Moore, Deborah Sis, Chad Jones. You got 8 states watching you on the program right now. Brandy Clausen says, I love you, Earl. All right, I'm going to do this for all the viewers here, and I'm going to get out of your way because this guy's got opinions, and he's got a lot to say. I love what he posts on social media. Ira Morris says, Scotty Rock.
Scotty Rock.
John says, hey, Earl, good to see you up and kicking. Sharon Evans, hey, Earl, he's one of the very, very best. I mean, and it continues. You're a beloved individual. I want to get to that first. First, your State of the Union for Central Virginia. What's your State of the Union?
I think the moniker when I ran for Board of Supervisors, I told everybody, I said, look, this DNR thing has got to go. You cannot continue to worry about what's going on nationally if you're not involved in your community. If you don't like something, I forget the last election we had, or the past 2 or 3, there were counties, umpteen counties, I think over 28 people got elected that were unopposed. And that's just ridiculous.
You got 3 running now unopposed.
That's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
For people to say, I don't have enough time, you can always find some kind of time. I didn't run for any kind of glory or whatever. I just said, look, the guy's not going to take over. I didn't like what he was doing. I didn't like the person that he took his place, what he was doing, and ideals. And my whole ideal is it's Board of Supervisor. You are supervising the part of the county that you represent, which means you physically go out and work. And when things happen, you go out and find out, and you're the squeaky wheel for your section of the county. Sure, what does that mean? That you also have to make decisions for the whole county? That's fine. But your representative ought to be able to articulate enough their passion of what the people live in that particular part of the county, why they should get a bigger portion or go first. So
I want to give you props on the show here. Getting a round of applause, Earl.
You're welcome.
Getting the round of keep going, my friend.
Well, it's like currently now. Like a lot of people didn't realize, and I didn't realize when I ran. That person gets to appoint their own proctor to the planning commission. That's your second. What does that mean? That means you got somebody there that is the same exact ideal as you are, that could step in. That's when Chris Dumler was here and everybody was fussing about that. I'd actually talked to him before I did the petition and convinced him if they would let Rick Randolph step up, we would have never had the petition. We would have never had Jane Dittmeyer come. We had none of that. It would have been over. Randolph could have slid right in. That's how the law is written. But guess who? Boyd and Snow and all them, no, because they wanted to do that bypass thing. They let politics get in the way, and Chris Dumler went, I'll sit right here. So tell me whose way was better. I'm not saying I'm right, but boy, that would have saved everybody a lot of time.
Current Board of Supervisors, like I said, there's 3 spots up for election in November. All 3 have no challengers. They're running unopposed. Well, you got Galloway running for re-election. He's an incumbent. You got Diantha McKeel running for re-election. She's an incumbent. Liz Palmer in the Samuel Miller District has said she's going to retire. She's handpicked her successor, and I think his name is, let me do a quick Google here, hit the Google, Jim Andrews. Jim Andrews is going to replace Liz Palmer, and he's running unopposed. So let me throw this to you, and I have a feeling you have a lot to say here.
I'm not moving.
The stranglehold one party has on the city and the county, and the impact it has.
You cannot have the same people all the time that stoically stand behind an ideal without somebody. You have to have a wrench thrower. You have to have a what if person. That's why we love comic books so much. You have a hero. The hero does not work if you don't have a villain. You are an anti-hero or somebody that's creating some kind of discord or just a different path. It's just not. Our human psyche doesn't work that way. We always either have to be positive, negative, or something's broken, or we got to fix it, or wow, look at this, or something like, But when you just have people sitting around going, well, we're in charge now. It's like we all went down to courthouse about the Second Amendment thing. Albemarle County has had no problems at all.
You're talking about Board of Supervisors recently trying to pass an ordinance. Now, they've tabled it for now, where you cannot carry in county parks,
Right.
buildings, and county-owned property.
Right, and I will say to everybody, I went out, I never owned a handgun until probably maybe 2012. I never saw my father had one pistol from when he was a police officer here. When he first moved here, he was a police officer. And we only shot rifles and shotguns. And I learned if you hit the target 3 times, why are you wasting bullets? You don't need to keep shooting. Why are you wasting ammo? But I started learning how to shoot. I bought a 1911 pistol, and I started practicing with it, and I just really liked being able to do that. And a friend of mine, I was trying to get better, and he goes, well, what are you trying to do with that? And I said, I want to be able to, it be a part of me to where I feel so comfortable with it that if something happens, then I know how to use it correctly. I have trained with it correctly. He says, well, then start training yourself that way and quit killing paper. Because you get these people that go down to the range or something and they do this proper stance, and I call it the poop stance, where they put the butt out and they do this perfect isoslop. And I'm going, when somebody is after you, that's people that really have never been in a physical altercation. I tell people all the time, I said, let me hit you really hard about the head and then hand you that pistol and then see if you can hit that piece of paper now. That's realism. And I tell a lot of my lady friends that they'll say, well, you help me show. And I said, first off, I want to see you be able to take that pistol apart and put it back together and know it backwards and forwards. I want you to be able to look at me while I'm talking at you and take it apart. Or, Earl, that's hard. Yes, it's hard, but you know what? That's your responsibility. If you're going to be that responsible to possibly take somebody else's life, then you need to know that, and you need to be okay with that. There can be no hesitation. Does that make sense? I mean, it's like that's why I became an NRA instructor. I went and took the class and did that, and I could start a business doing that, but I'm more about helping people and making them understand, look here, why do you have this? To protect myself. Or are you prepared to actually take somebody's life? You think about that. I only want to hurt them, or I just want to get.
I want to graze them in the kneecap.
Well, then go down to Gracie Jiu-Jitsu and talk to Brent Lillard and learn how to defend yourself and learn how to punch somebody like you mean it. That's going to save your life just without hesitation. You just got much as a chance of saving yourself as trying to pull a pistol out that you don't practice with. Anything you do takes practice. So that's my soapbox on that.
You've got questions coming in for you already.
Oh, okay.
Well, the Earl Smith Facebook page is on absolute fire right now, as the Earl Smith Facebook page generally is.
Yeah.
I love following you on social. Neil Williamson, president of the Free Enterprise Forum,
Neil,
got something for you.
Mr. Well-Hung
Vineyard. Mr. Well-Hung Vineyard, that's right. We love you, Neil Williamson. Earl, is local government well served by having just one vote in opposition?
He knows the answer to that. No. And I'm a person that can say no, and I don't feel like I need to elaborate, because you know what? If you say no, that creates a chance for you to ask me another question.
I think no is...
No, period. People need to learn to say
That's
no.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
I know. So how do you characterize the current board?
I have not really paid attention. I know how I've spoken to Donna Paula Price a couple times just online, and just anytime I've ever seen. She's a very intelligent lady. I get tired of hearing how intelligent she is, because she wants to take the first 10, 15 minutes to explain how many master's degrees she got, and that's not me making fun of her,
no,
but
I've experienced that as well.
Well, and that's just, to me, is like, you don't need to toot your horn all the time.
Mm-hmm.
My questions whenever I talk to or I make a comment about something at Scottsville, it's just like the Centurylink problem. Woodridge, down in Scottsville, the following areas has been inundated with so many outages, it's ridiculous. When school started last year and we were all supposed to be virtual, Scottsville was out of internet for the first 2 weeks of school. So you tell me how that was conducive to what we were all going through. And when you call, and I think I just recently told you,
listen to this, guys. Tell them this.
Well, my dad had worked for the telephone company, like I said, 40-some years, so I know people, and I just in talking, but I just really had a feeling when you would call in and it would give you some fictitious date of going to repair your stuff.
You're talking Centurylink.
Yeah, Centurylink. And, they were having like 3 months out or 6 months out or something like this to get to your house to fix your landline. And you're talking about people like my mom and dad who are in their 70s, early 80s, that landline, the cell phone where I live, it doesn't pick up as well because we live half mile off the road.
Sure. And they're older, so having the landline working is critical.
Well, you would think it's critical, but, the constant trouble on the line's noisy or just goes dead per the inclement weather or starts raining. Like Mary down in Howardsville that drives a school bus with me, she just made a comment on the Scottsville page about it. But there was a fellow on the Scottsville page, and I actually looked it up, and I had a feeling, but Centurylink is selling our area. So for 2 years, I've had this feeling going.
How'd you find that out?
Somebody actually shared it online, and then I see a lot of stuff online, and once in a while, and I really like to research, and it fills my head up too much, and it makes me depressed sometimes. But it's I looked into it, and their Centurylink is selling off a big major portion. Where? Guess why? Because a lot of the cables need to be replaced. The cables that run from Scottsville down James River Road, are all just old. Some of it is even still old paper copper, so they're selling you a product. So they'll tell you, Jerry, wow, you can get 20 megabytes per second, which y'all, you city folk, that's nothing, but we like it out there. But then you end up getting 6 or 7.
Inconsistently.
Yeah. But they're still putting that $40 a month in their pocket, and you get nothing for it.
So have you pitched or presented this to leadership in any capacity?
Well, that was the thing. I had actually sent Donna Paula Price a thing saying, how you as our supervisor, what are you doing about the 2 weeks that we've been out of service, and this has been a problem. You live down there, and you've complained about it yourself. Why not, as a Board of Supervisor member, why aren't you hammering? Why aren't you talking to the SCC and the FCC and going, we got problems down here, y'all need to figure it out?
And the response? None?
No, but we get the glorified, look, I've been on the broadband internet crew and whatever this thing is over here, and we appropriated, $75,000 for, what is that going to do? Nothing. You got people like Alan Powell that owns SN Communications that's burying stuff everywhere. You got major players here that know this stuff backwards and forwards, and why aren't you hammering them?
Do you feel the area is just forgotten?
Yes, because you don't have somebody squeaking. You don't have somebody standing out on the road going, this sucks. It doesn't. You can see from the people. There's plenty of people there. Eric LaFontaine that owns a barbecue place down.
He's come on the show. I think he's watching too.
Yeah,
the Ben Barbecue.
Yeah, he's really got on it. He's a smart guy.
He's a smart guy.
He's been sharing just like I do. He shares people when they complain. He's like, look, here's the links to send an email. We all need to complain. I would really like to find somebody. There could be a possibility of a class action lawsuit.
I mean, it sounds like that's the definition of one.
Yes.
Being sold a bill of goods that's not actually the bill of goods.
And being forced with an inferior product that is inconsistent. It's just, and then what is it going to do when they're selling? I mean, it'll force somebody maybe to come in. I don't know. I mean, but it's just got to be fixed. I even looked into the Starlink thing, and I think I'm going to sign up for that. But there's another thing. It's like I told you out on Beales Lane, Daryl Hammond is one of the guys. He could probably chime in.
He's watching.
Yeah, Daryl can probably type in and tell you how long he's been waiting down on Beales Lane. Him and several other the people in that subdivision.
Yeah.
Paid to have fiber optic buried to their house. It's been there 6 or 8 months.
How long, Daryl? Let us know, Daryl.
Yeah, Daryl. And it's still, and I even talked to the contractor. They buried stuff, and he goes, I don't have an idea when they're going to hook it up. What is up with that?
Let me acknowledge some of the viewers. You're getting a lot of props. Andre Xavier, Earl is amazing, well-rounded person. We love him on Seaville Hop On Tours.
Thanks, Andre.
Don Campbell, damn, in shock. Here, what? You go, brother. You're getting props from Daryl.
Don, we need to see that Eddie Van Halen guitar you just bought, buddy.
Daryl Hammond says almost 7 months, Earl.
7 months. See, now that's and then ask him what's the general. How much did y'all pay for that, Daryl?
How much you pay for it, Daryl? Let us know.
What's the kind of average of what everybody paid to have it buried?
Kim Puffery. Yeah, Daryl, you go. Karen Signer, you go, Earl. Debbie Farrell, you go, Earl. Danny Hastings, what's up, buddy? He's watching, giving you some props. John says Lumen Technologies, Inc.
Yes.
Beverly Wells Barker, thank you, I appreciate that. Earl has been a longtime friend of mine. I mean, the list goes on. You are Brittany Logan watching the program. You got 9 states watching. Daryl Hammond says 500 to 600.
7 months. Yeah. I was told in my house now, I live, Michael Schaap's Winery is adjacent to my property. They buried
it's a good spot.
Yeah, no, because they're too noisy. They're being actually really nice now. When they first started, woo.
You know, they're probably going to watch this.
Well, no, Michael, him and I have went the grounds and
went toe to toe.
Yeah, but he's a good guy now, so we get along. But oh yeah, there was as many times I went up on that hill at 2 o'clock in the morning while they were making grapes and had a little teeny little French guy about 5'4" hang up on me, and I showed up and he changed his mind real quick.
I bet he does. Who's gonna want to mess with the Maverick there?
But yeah, I'd called the guy, a friend of mine that works for Centurylink. His father was with my dad, you know. So Steve, and he does some online gaming stuff. He's pretty cool. Bearded Kingdom is his thing. But he came out and he actually fixed it after I had 3 other contracts from Pennsylvania come down there and say, oh. You know, I had 3 different problems, and I'm rolling my eyes going, dude, I could probably fix this if it was legal, you know, from me growing up in it. But he came down, but then there's a dedicated fiber line that goes up to the winery. I could tap into that. I asked in September 20, it took them 8 months to get back to me with an estimate after I turned them into the SEC 3 times. And then they came back and said, and I was going to bury my own cable. Alan Powell was going to help me out and going to give me a machine, and I was going to bury my own cable.
Hey, you're doing the work.
They said $1,500 to hook up into the fiber optic. So I played the game. I said, fine, here's the money. I pulled it out of my pocket. When? Oh, I can't give you a date. Well, why do you think I want to pay you $1,500 and wait a year?
That's not how it works.
No. I'm like, golly, I could probably find a contractor and get it done myself quicker. You know? But now you see if like that fellow just said, Lumen is a company, and if they're selling out, they're not going to do nothing. So we just have to really, what needs to be done now is if we all know that and you get enough people together, whoever buys it should know the expectations. These are the problems.
Do you think Scottsville, the town itself, should get in this business? Matt Lawless, you ever talk to him about this?
No, I mean that's stuff that the city council down there and Matt Lawless, that should be one of the things.
Priority.
It should, and it should be,
especially in COVID. Yeah,
and it should be. Even if they can't feel like they can't affect it too much, you can't quit squeaking.
Yeah, you got to lobby.
Right. So it's every time I see you, hey Jerry, what you doing? You looking fit? Hey buddy, what'd you do about my Centurylink? You know? So you go, Jesus Christ, I don't want to see that guy anymore. I like them shoes. What'd you do with my Centurylink?
Smith. Oh God, this comment that just came in is a perfect example of what's happening now. This is from John. How could you not remember going into Core Brothers, having a conversation with Earl, and not walking out with a huge smile on your face?
Well, thank you.
You got this contagious, jolly, positive energy.
Well, yeah, I get it from my mom and dad. So,
how do you characterize the Scottsville area now?
It's a great community. You know, everybody pulls together. I told you about my mother. she's developed some heart problems, and we couldn't have a big garden this year. She just can't do stuff like she used to. So I made her some plants some tomato plants. She loves tomatoes. And they got decimated, and I just put it out in Facebook land, and I swear to God, I've got more tomatoes and other stuff from the most generous people that I am so blessed. And I told you the other day, I brought her some more, and she just goes, "You're getting all this from your friends on Facebook." She goes, and she almost cried, and she goes, "It's just nice to know my son is that loved," so makes me teary-eyed.
I'm getting that way myself. I mean, when you see a big dude with long red hair and a beard getting emotional, you can't help but get emotional. What's your mom and dad mean to you? I know your dad passed.
Oh, I'm not even go there because now you're trying to be like one of them Dr. Phil's or somebody. We're very symbiotic. That's the only thing. Most everybody that met us, my parents, my dad would maul you. He was the biggest hugger. When he worked at the telephone company, or somebody would come to the house, like if you and I were good buddies and you came to the house and he knew you drove from Pennsylvania or something, and he goes, "You got gas money?" And you go, "What?" And he'd hand you a 50. So especially when we were young and dumb, you know what I mean? Because he knew we didn't have any money, and he would always just share like that. And he just common sense could fix anything. When I lost my dad, it was like I didn't have a cheat code anymore. You know what I mean? It was like I couldn't pick up the phone and go, "Pop, tell me something." I did this, that, and that. And he go, "Well, you dummy, you should have done it this way." Or he'll go, "Bring it on down here. Let me put the volt-ohm-meter on it." He was a big volt-ohm-meter. But that man would figure anything out, taught me how to square up a room. It was just, and how to be genuine to people. I mean, this McDonald's down here that's close to here.
By the Shabin?
Yes.
Yeah, Vinegar Ale.
You could not go in there with my dad without every woman coming to the drive-in window. "Hey, Smitty, what you doing?" But you know what? He always, for Christmas and went down there and gave them like all $20, like gave them gift cards and stuff, the ones that really waited on him all the time. And he was just that type of guy. The people that worked for him at the telephone company, he took care of a lot of the contractors, and his way was like he called it the second level. He said, "Second level, come down here." He was third level, and they'd start fussing, and he goes, "You need to go back upstairs because I'm doing my job, and I'll come up there and visit you, but don't you come down here." He'd run them off. But he would if something happened that like the job needed to be done, he would buy the contractors the proper tools. He would coordinate it through the company and buy the tools, and then when the job was done, he'd end up giving them the tools. Because and they were like, "Well, Smitty, you can't do that." And he goes, "Next time I need Jerry Miller to come down there and fix something, he's got the proper tool, and he's going to be here first." And by God, I'm going to tell you what, them people would do. I still get people, they'll come to visit my mom that were probably the top 3 contractors that my dad knew for 25 years. They still bring my mom like deer meat or like vegetables, or just come down and just stop in and say hi to her, just because my dad.
That's awesome.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yep.
People are asking about Boudreau's. We'll get to Boudreau's, I promise, guys. How could we chat with Earl Smith without talking Boudreau's on this program? Do you think, the show is the I Love Seville show, but Seville in this situation is Central Virginia.
Yeah.
In totality. I Love Seville has a nicer ring to it than, say, I Love Central Virginia.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? You think the area is better off now than when you were coming up?
I love change. I'm not scared of change. It's if you can't adapt, overcome, and improvise, like Clint Eastwood says, then something wrong with you.
What's your favorite Eastwood movie?
Oh God, probably Josie Wales.
Okay, that's a good one.
I remember going when I was 12 to Barracks Road Theater.
Barracks Road Theater.
Mm-hmm.
There's a theater in Barracks Road Shopping Center?
Yeah, as soon as you pull right in, there was a big theater right there. It used to be one at University.
Okay.
Right there, before you get to the 14th bridge.
Uh-huh.
There was one where Kmart is called a Terrace Triple. We used to go see Rocky Horror there every Friday or Saturday night. And of course, you had the Ridge, the drive-in where Kroger's is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, God, they was still there when I was 16, and they would show 70s dirty movies, and we'd go sit in the parking lot at Kmart and we'd see the dirty movies. We'd all snicker.
Oh, God, I love you. You're an interviewer's dream over here. So change. You're not opposed to change. I've been here 21 years. You've been here 57.
Yeah.
You got a lot more perspective to offer than I can, only being here 21 years.
Well, and I've lived when I graduated out of my high school, and then Joey DeMasi, one of my best friends, we played in a band together. His father was the regional director of Safeway. That gave me my first job down at Barracks Road when that opened. But God, we played in the band, and then we moved here. The music scene in here, I always played heavy metal, and Judas Priest and Iron Maiden and all that stuff, and of course the hair metal stuff. That's why I had Aquanet. Anyway, but the music scene here was mostly blues and Grateful Dead and Nighthawks and stuff like beach music. So I moved to Richmond and Virginia Beach and played a lot. And just traveled up and down the East Coast and just saw so many things. And like I'd come back here when I lived in Virginia Beach for a while, and people would complain about traffic back in the mid-'80s, and I'm going, you don't know what traffic is.
Right, perspective.
I learned how to do the zipper correctly. It's like that people around here, they'd rather stay in a line for 3 miles and want to block you to keep you from being in that empty lane. It's like, how do you not think that that's not efficient if we just don't share? What are you trying to do? So, but I think that's why everybody always should travel. I mean, you can do better for your hometown if you've been to other places and seen other ideas that has inspired you.
Oh, that's a good comment.
It really is, because there's probably any original ideas there, but there's tons of inspiration from other ideas that makes you, and I'm that person. I've always been that person, the what if person. What if you turn it this way? Well, Jerry, you might look better that way, and I'll keep hammering you till you say, let's try it.
Why'd you run for Board of Supervisors? What year was that?
That was 15. I had done the Dummler petition.
A little background on Dummler. He had a number of issues while he was in office.
He had done some sexual stuff, and
bad stuff.
And before he was a lawyer, and before he got charged, he went ahead and took a plea deal,
right,
which granted him he wasn't going to get a felony. And then a bunch of people were screaming bloody murder, and a couple friends and I, we looked and we were like, well, you just got this recall thing. And so I had some people talk to me, and they're like, well, why don't you do it? Republican Party, why don't you do it? And so when I got into it, and I had collected about 200 signatures, with some other people's help, and then all of a sudden, well, no, it's got to be people in your district. And I'm like, well, y'all didn't say that. So I had to start over. But along the way, I met, you would not believe, people would come to me and ask me, why are you doing this? And of course, everybody, but mostly women, would come.
And say why?
And they would say, we want to know what you're doing. And I said, well, I didn't want to become involved, but when so many women came forward, and I said, in honor of my mother being a strong woman, and I said, and when he took a plea deal and he totally put a blanket order over all of them and they couldn't talk about it anymore, I said, to me, that's wrong. I said, the fellow ought to resign, And like I said, when I first talked to him about it, he was 28, and I mean, but he was smart. But he also knew you couldn't do nothing about it. It was going to be hell or high water to get him out of there. And I gave him out, but then of course it got political. So I followed through. I did what I said I was going to do. I had some great help for some people. We only needed 200, maybe 300, and we got over almost 800 signatures. But like I was telling you about, a lot of the women that would come up, I remember standing at Snow's and had like 7 or 8 women come up to me, and they wanted to know. So I explained to them what I told you. It's just not right. You can't silence people. You can't take a plea deal and then remain on a position, and then those people still got to see you like that. Find a way out. save some face. And I will tell you, a lot of those people are still friends with me on Facebook, and a lot of them are liberal as hell, and they know I'm leaning more conservative. I'm really more independent, more constitutionalist, or I don't even know what moniker. I like Maverick better.
A libertarian?
I've never looked at, and see, that's something else. I'm pretty liberal about stuff, but
I mean, it sounds like you're physically conservative and socially liberal.
Yeah, I mean, it's
that's
like
how I identify.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. It's like I want you to be responsible for yourself.
Yeah,
and I want you to if you want to go help people, then help them. If you don't,
that's your prerogative.
Stay home.
Yeah,
and don't belittle nobody else.
Right. Don't want the government in your business.
No.
I don't care what you do with your body. A woman has a right to do whatever she wants with her body. We should have the right to bear arms where we want to bear arms. Cannabis should definitely be legalized here. Okay? The fact that you can go in the Army at 18 and you can't drink till you're 21, what's going on?
That is dumb.
I mean, how ridiculous is that?
That is ridiculous.
Socially liberal, physically conservative. Let me ask you this. Why do you think, and I learn from folks like you that have a lot more perspective than I do, why do you think a conservative party, and let's not even use the monikers.
All right.
Let's not use the R, the D, the L. Why is the conservative mentality not more momentum embraced in this area?
Well, that was something that I even brought up when I ran as conservative, and then going to all the meetings and being a business guy and me looking at that, and I'm going, this is why you lose all the time.
What do you mean?
Well, it's like the liberal side, they all got together. They do it faster. They do it better. They have more money. They're machine. Yes, yeah. I've used that word. Yeah. That's good that you recognize that. Yeah, it's a total machine. It's and when I was doing it, it seems like I'm like going, come on, what are you doing? Well, this is, and you get promised all this stuff, but they don't do it. Ken Boyd promised it when he goes, I want you to come down to my office with my former Paul, whatever his name was, manager, and we're going to keep you abreast of everything that's going on, and so you have talking point. Did that ever happen? Not one time. I'd show up, well, I got something to do. Well, you know what? I'm not going to waste my time. I'm not begging you. You either want to help me or get out of the way.
So you felt disenchanted throughout the whole process?
Well, it got Rob Schilling, he talked to me a lot and tried to help. Hank Martin was a great guy. He helped me write some stuff, and he's very articulate in his words. And I've got a friend that lives in Richmond, and she is a political master. And I wish I'd have had enough money or the gumption to maybe hire her. But I'm going, it's a $15,000 a year job. Why?
Yeah, it's like $16,400 now.
Why are they spending so much money for a position like that? I mean, it's like...
I mean, the races are now going to be like fundraising, eclipsing $100,000 in fundraising.
That is ridiculous.
And they do get paid like $16,000 and change.
Yes.
A year. Yeah. And these dudes, and to their credit, councilors of Charlottesville are paid $18,000, the mayor's paid $20,000, board of supervisors is $16,000 and change. To all the credit of the 5 people on the board, the 6 people on the board, and the 5 people on council, 11 people, Albemarle County and City of Charlottesville running, they are clocking a hell of a lot of hours.
They do, and I said that. I said, people go, well, you're just doing this for the whatever. I'll say, what am I getting other than 50 hours extra a week?
That's right.
A PIA.
Yeah. Pain in the ass.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like, and to have people screaming at you all the time, or you can't even, I tied my shoes on the inside instead of the outside, and somebody's going to try to tell me that ain't the way you got to do it.
Well, do you regret doing it?
No, not at all. I mean, I would probably do it again, but it's like I have another good friend, and she says, Earl, you're more of like an advocate than you are a person that want to sit there. She goes, you can create more inspiration or chaotic whatever, you more trouble. And she says, and you like to say the F word a lot. She goes, and that's not good.
Sounds like me. I like the F word, and I like to create some trouble.
But that's where I'm more leaning. Because Jerry, I don't think I could. It's like I really respect. It's like when I played Aquanet, and we had 900 people at the Jefferson. right? And I would tell my friends, I'm like, it humbles me that many people would pay $12 to come watch us dress up like Guns N' Roses and play old 80s stuff that we never wrote and sing their hearts out and have a good time. And I had a little words with the bass player one time because he's like, "Oh, you're killing it." I'm like, "Well, dude, you messed up a couple times, and I'm like, you ought to take it a little bit more serious." Just because I respect that amount of people. It's like I said, it humbles me. My good friend Darryl Williams, he comes and he's kind of like our official roadie, but he said, "Dude, aren't you like, nervous?" And I looked out there, I'm like, "No, it's just time to bring your A game. It's these people came to want to be entertained for 2 hours, so you just do the best.
You owe it to them. They're paying for it.
You do, and you have to respect that part, and that's the way I try to live my life. It's like friends will ask me, "Wow, you actually know people. Somebody you can't go anywhere. I can't go nowhere with you because 5 people come up and go, 'Hey, Earl,' or you're always waving to somebody. And then if I asked you who was that, 'Oh, it's Jerry Miller. He owns this and he does that, and blah, 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 and his dog's name is Ted.'" You know what I mean? And they're like, "How do you know this about all these?" It's, well, because I'm interested. It's like, how else should you treat people? You just can't go, "Oh, nice to see you." Or,
You'll appreciate this from Ray Cadell.
Ray!
Big Ray and the Cool Cats. He says, "Earl Smith is one hell of an entertainer."
Thank you, Ray.
And that's quite a compliment coming from an entertainer like Ray Cadell himself.
Ray Cadell, when he owned Mingles, was going to hire me for the karaoke.
Okay, so this was the old West Main.
Yes.
Or Tavern and Grocery.
Yes, and he owned Mingles.
He loves when we talk about Mingles. Let's talk about it.
Does he?
Yeah.
It was a really cool place. But I was playing in a house band down at Newport News, and I decided to play live music instead of being there with him. But every time I come home, I would go down there.
Let's chat Boudreau's.
Boudreau's.
Let's do this before we go down this, because a lot of people may not remember.
Yeah.
So let's go the who, what, when, where, why of Boudreau's, and then we'll talk some of the best stories.
Well, Alan Powell and Wayne Thomas, they started it, and my ex-wife was general manager there, and it was really fancy, and that's not how Alan wanted it, and eventually Wayne left.
Located where?
Over on next to Putt Putt on Rye Road.
Right.
And then
used to be Wolfie's, right?
Well, it was Boudreau's first.
Right.
That's where Ted Norris worked.
Yeah. Mark
Dorsey, Mike Abel, Mabel.
Terry Martin.
Yep, and Terry Martin was there.
Power.
Yep. But Alan had always said he wanted to have a place where just the whole family could come and, you could wear your shrimp boots or your whatever. And so we got to talking, and I said, "Hey, let's make a character called Uncle Boudreau, and we'll do the TV commercials, and we'll do that." And, so I dressed up wearing my card hearts and my shrimp boots, and I had a stupid old Jed Clampett hat. And we made some iconic commercials that Channel 29 won some awards with. And once in a while, I'll still people go, "Hey, that's Uncle Boudreau." And you're talking from 98 to 2002. It's... the French Quarter and back was awesome. I mean, that was just a good place to be. And people go, "Oh, there was always fights there or something." And I'm like, well, you know what? When you got 800-900 people coming in and out of a place partying, and you have
drinking,
you have a fight once every 2-3 months.
Pretty good ratio.
That's a good ratio.
Yeah.
We had a great relationship with the police department. They worked with us well. And a couple times, and seeing I'm very proactive. I'm very offensive instead of defensive. So we got put Captain Miller at one time that put us in the brand because Katie's was having a whole lot of trouble. And I think somebody had a shooting over there. So that was in our sector. Well, they started coming over and trying to hammer us, not being bullies or anything but it just got to be a point. I had over 12 security guys walking around. They'd pull in the lot. I'd go over and knock on the door. "Why are you in my lot?" We're allowed to be here." "No, sir, this is private property. You're allowed to patrol, which means the car's moving. Goodbye." See, I'm that type of guy. It's not disrespectful, but that's the law. I will keep anybody. I will protect you. I thoroughly respect military and the police, but I know my rights as well. Move. They'd come over there. Sometimes I'd shut the place down at 1 o'clock. They'd come over at 1:45 because they start place is empty by 1:30. There's nobody there. What, y'all shut down early when nobody here? Oh no, we were packed. But see, I kept them off guard. It was funny. But that's if you're going, you have to show them that you're going to take care of your place. I went to court umpteen times. I would say, this guy's having an argument. He did this. He hit 2 people. Give me his ID, his information. I'll go to the magistrate and file out a warrant and go to court. I don't want Jerry Miller in my place anymore. Guess what? After about the 12th or 15th person I did that with,
they stopped doing it.
You didn't have that riffraff in it no more.
Right.
You know?
What do you think the legacy of Boudreau's is?
It was a great place to eat, and it was a lot of that French Quarter that we had carried. We had Steve Miller from Thunder Music there on Wednesday nights, and
R.I.P. Steve Miller.
Yep, and that place was packed. We had Latino night on Thursdays. That place was packed, and Friday and Saturday it was packed.
Why did it close?
Alan decided he wanted to change. And that's when he started Wolfies and he had bought a bunch of the stuff smokers, I guess, and stuff. And him and his wife, his ex-wife, that was her maiden name was Wolf, and they turned it into Wolfies. And then after that, didn't last very long, I don't think. And then that's when his brother bought into the place with a partner, and that's when it became Rivals.
Yeah, sports bar.
Yep. And I had left, and then I'd bought a place down on Cherry Avenue called the CJ's Pub and Grub.
Oh yeah, that was in
It used to be the bomb shelter.
That's right.
Yep.
Was that in the Cherry Avenue Shopping Center?
No. That was at Monticello Dairy.
Oh, okay.
It was right. It's right where Star Hill is right now,
okay.
in that corner.
Yeah.
And
it used to be laser tag at one time too.
Yes, well that was God, what was it called?
Splat House?
Splat House, yes.
Yeah.
It wasn't laser tag, it was actually the paintball.
Paintball.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes, but I'd started Firehouse Bar and Grill over there.
That was before 3 Notch. Wow. Used to be Sharky's at one time. I remember a hustling pull.
The guy that Joey bought it from me.
And his beautiful sister.
Yep.
Yeah, well, I used to go in there to see all the time.
Everybody wants to see her. Was it Juliana? Is that her name?
You have a very good memory. I'm pretty sure I think that's what it was. She was a gorgeous gal.
Yep, Juliana. But yeah, they did well. And then what was it after Sharky's? They sold it.
Did they turn into 3 Notch?
No. 3 Notch was next door where the Splat House was.
It was McGrady's.
McGrady's, yep.
Yeah, and then McGrady's turned into Cho's.
Yes.
Cho's had a cup of coffee there, the Nacho bar.
Yep.
And then the Nacho bar turned into 3 Notch. Mm-hmm. The tap room, their first tap room.
And I remember.
And there used to be like a Latino grocery right next to it.
Yes. But I remember going there and getting milk. I remember it was a high school prank. There was a big giant cow out in the front.
Yeah.
And the seniors from Charlottesville and Almar would bring a load of cow manure and put it underneath the cow, for their senior prank or whatever the heck. But God, yeah, you could go right in the middle where the columns were, and that's where you could go get the ice cream and all that. And we'd walk there from Monticello Avenue, me and my mom and friends, and we'd walk down there and go get some ice cream. And they used to service where Tubby's is. That used to be High's Ice Cream. And they used to have the Monticello Dairy Steak. That was the best ice cream.
Yeah? Mm-hmm. I love that corridor of Jack and Jill's, Tubby's, Riverside. You spent some time on High Street, those joints?
Oh, yeah. That was all bicycle riding and skateboarding and all that,
So you remember Riverside High Street when Buster was there?
I remember Riverside when it was where CVS is at.
Right. So that was Catty Corner.
Yes.
Across and diagonal.
Right. Mr. Wood that owned Putt Putt and his...
Wendell's brother.
Yes. LF. But that was where Tractor Supply is.
Yeah. That
was the first Putt Putt. And he used to tell me the story.
Did LF own it then?
Yes.
At that location?
Yes. Him, the way my father described him and Wendell and all them, they owned everything from Barracks Road all the way to Greene County, both sides of the road. But LF, when we had Boudreau's, he used to come over. He was the sweetest guy and give you anything. But he was telling me that he started Putt Putt right there. And then that's when city of Charlottesville, they annexed over to it because that was where the line was. Then they had moved it over to where, what is there now, where the car wash is. That used to be, that area used to have Caravan, the Hump Burger. That used to be a little eatery right there. And that was where the line was.
Okay.
Right? Well, they went up on his property taxes like a penny and a half or something like that. And that's when hell flew into him and he moved it up where it's at now on Rye Road. But remember, Blockbuster used to be there.
Oh yeah, he and to your point about LF and that putt-putt, my wife and son this past weekend just went to putt-putt because my little boy loves playing sports and stuff like that, and they were so nice to them. Gave them. My wife forgot her water. They're like, it's too hot out here, ma'am. Have some water on us. Let my little boy, who's 3, play 36. Price of 18. I mean, LF and that company run the business the right way. He
always, that's somebody else that you always listen to because that's money walking, him and his brother. And he used to tell me, he goes, if you ever want to start something, he says laundromats and car washes. You don't need employees, and it's all cash money.
Did you ever do it?
No, I've been looking. I was actually looking. I went out and looked at a couple places, and then all of a sudden I went past and I was going to call, and then I saw a car wash going up there. I'm like, God, always $1 a day short and whatever.
Neil Williamson's got something on what we're talking about. For what it's worth, Jerry and Earl, Jim Andrews, who's running for Liz Palmer's seat. Liz Palmer's handpicked somebody herself to take her seat. Neil Williamson says Jim Andrews has raised over $38,000 for the Samuel Miller district, and he is running unopposed. And he's raised over $38K, and he has no competition for this seat.
Well, and something else that people don't realize, like they didn't realize you get to put your own person on the planning commission. When you are running and you have that separate account set up for your...
Yeah, you can allocate the money how you see fit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I need
to other campaigns.
And I need new suits, or that's what happened a lot. Especially now, when you're on the county level, you have to, it's a little bit more strict, but just like when Robert Tracy and all them ran and Denise Lunsford and all that stuff, and everybody goes, well, how they got that much money? Well, when you're on a state level or national level, and we always go, how does that congressman or senator, how they only make 170-something thousand a year, how they worth $4 million while they got 3 houses? Well, guess what? Because everything you donate to them, they can keep that if they leave. When you're on a national level, so, buddy, you tell me what is a good deal. If you get elected somewhere, and I think if you serve one term.
Well, Congress, say if someone does back-to-back terms, let's take the 5th district,
right,
where we're in. If you do back-to-back terms in Congress, I think the pay is like $170K a year. If you're fortunate to win twice,
right,
you get that $170K a year for the rest of your life.
Why?
And your wife and yourself, husband and wife, get benefits.
Medical.
For the rest of their life.
Yes. Why?
That's a good question.
When our founding fathers did that, when they started, and it all the way up through to the Civil War. Until they allocated, they said, hey, we're spending a lot of time. I'm losing my business. I need to get paid for this stuff. Till they changed that, you pretty much went and served. You didn't get paid.
Yeah. Well, what are you saying? Absolute power corrupts? Is that what you're alluding to?
Well, I'm just saying it's how I have no problem with people making, that's like you're taking an incredible job that's a lot of responsibility and importance on it, and you have a lot of power to be able to create a law or to create situations for other people to prosper or to destroy people. But once you leave, why go back? Most of these people are doctors or lawyers or very successful business people.
Those are the types of folks that can run because they can set the schedule or have the money to make the commitment.
Why do they need that extra? Why do they need that taxpayer dollar? Why do they need to stay there as long as most? Why can't they have 2 terms? Why can't 8 years be enough? Even 12. Let's go 12. Well, even if you do a great job, you're telling me if it takes you 2 years to learn how the system works and how to be a fully functioning person to where you're not clogging it up, and then for 10 years you're doing a great job. You're telling me within that 10 years you can't train somebody else or help bring in the next person that's going to follow suit with part of your ideals or even something that you're like they're doing or even their ideas, let them go. Let them come and go and get off my tax dollar.
You know what? I'm going to give you the round of applause again here.
Yes!
Earl Smith, dropping knowledge over here. Greg Perkins, watching the program, says, what's up? Nick Pollock says, Earl rocks. Donna says, Firehouse. He made the best cheeseburgers ever.
She always talks about them.
Karen says it was some of the best times. Deborah Mickelson, some of the best times of my life were spent watching Earl perform. Loved the time in my life when Earl was performing. Daryl, Earl was the entertainment portion of Belly Aching Blues Chili. Pamela Glosser, still have a video of us at the Dogwood Parade with our Mardi Gras theme.
Nuh-uh.
Willow Lynch, I remember those days, Earl. Glenn Herman, my longtime friend, brother, lots of road trips. Kim Delaney, I've got to see this. Rick Oliveras, Earl Smith was by far one of my favorite people in Seville. Pamela, I was there. Woo, 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 woo. Kim, I'm going to mess up your last name, Kim, so I'm going to say Uncle Boudreau's was the absolute best. You got Cody Purvis watching right now. He gave you this.
Cody!
The hands up. What's
big,
up,
tall
Cody?
rascal.
Heather, love you, Earl. I mean, the list goes on and on. You are beloved in this community. Let me throw this to you here. Do you think the local, the city councils, city councilors, the board of supervisors, should it be a full-time position? If it was a full-time position, we likely would have a more well-rounded portion of the community running. Now the folks that are running are either independently wealthy, entrepreneurs, business owners so they can set their own schedule, or retired, because it's a tremendous commitment. A lot of folks say that this should be a full-time job, and if it's a full-time job, maybe you get more equity or equality with the demographics of people that can run for these positions. What do you think?
I think there's pros and cons of both of that. Could if you go to do it for that little pay and know that that's the extra time that you got to spend on all this stuff, you're doing it with a little bit of passion, I would think. As a full-time job, does it warrant getting paid like that? Certainly. You're putting in a lot of stuff. But what is it? 2 or 4 years? It's 4 years, isn't it?
4 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So 4 years of your life, you're pretty much going to work that job, and then when you're leaving, it was like I was telling you before we started. I left my job at Core Brothers, to go help take care of my dad when he was passing away, and I've had a heck of a time trying to find a job here.
Can we talk about that?
Yeah. It's I've and a lot of my friends have got Chuck Crenshaw. His family owned the trucking company. I got McCann Trucking. But when his father sold the trucking company, Chuck, it almost mirrored exactly the same as what I'm experiencing now. He would go try to find, he was in charge of the whole company, but he would go just trying to find a job to pay his mortgage. And he'd go apply for a job for $40,000 a year, and even though if he was making $100,000, they would just go, "Why would you work here?" He goes, "Because I got a mortgage. My family owned a business. I set my own salary. Why are you even questioning? Am I qualified to do the job? I could do this job backwards and forwards and upside down. Why is that your only thing you're questioning? Is whether I'll work for the $40,000 or not? You're questioning my ethics." It's like I used to tell the kids at Core Brothers, or I tell anybody that it doesn't matter what you're getting offered to get paid for something. It's your work ethic for yourself that you should be proud of. So I'd have people tell me, that were making $10 an hour in their first job. I'd clean more if you paid me $15. No, you won't, because I got to be on your butt every 5 minutes. I leave you a list. When you leave, I add to the list because you don't do. So how are you going to tell me? So you're telling me you're being a lazy ass, number one, because you're not responsible for yourself. So it doesn't matter whether, and that's what I used to tell them, it doesn't matter if you're making $50 an hour or 10, or it doesn't matter if you're volunteering. You're telling me if you volunteer, you go, I didn't get paid for this, so I'm not going to pick that wrapper up off the floor. Or I'm not going to move that chair that somebody could fall over that get hurt. Because I ain't getting paid for this. I'm just here volunteering. Somebody made me do it. Stay home. Go be something else.
So you think is it smoke and mirrors or fool's gold, this Charlottesville economy? And what I mean by that is we get this moniker of world-class city. We know there's hedge funds and one of the highest aggregation of millionaires, multimillionaires in the country here in Albemarle. I mean, and guys, Google that and look at how many, you can find it online, how many millionaires live in Albemarle County per capita. Per capita, we have some of the most millionaires. Per capita is the key term in Albemarle County than most municipalities do. So is it fool's gold what's happening here? It's only a bastion for the rich?
Well, and I will answer that in two parts.
Okay.
I'm 57. I grew up in a different era where your resume was a merit. Resumes now, and so I am kind of antiquated, archaic, compared to somebody that's my son's age is 27. The things that I'm learning, I just watched Indeed, a whole online class about how your resume is critiqued. It's not even a person anymore. See, I grew up to where you go, hey, Jerry, how you doing? My handshake meant something. You sit down and I tell you, and you go off my personality going, I want this guy to come work for me because I love his energy. I can teach him. He's teachable. Now it's not like that. You send somebody a resume through Indeed or the Monsters or whatever all that mess is, it actually goes through a word app, a word generator. So if you don't know how to create, if you're applying for the job that says XYZ, and if you don't take the wording that they're using in that job description and use those words in your resume,
you get cut.
Dumps it out.
Yeah.
You never get called.
That's the first cut.
Right. So that's what I've fallen into because I'll go, well, golly, I've owned my own businesses. I've done this. I've been responsible for that. I've worked for 25 years. I've had 30 employees. I've been responsible. I've done bank drops, payroll, all this stuff. But guess what? My resume is still 1990 or whatever you want to call it. And even if it's like you got to find somebody. It's like I had a friend that they said, here, this lady made my resume for me. So I sent her an email. I said, can we talk? Because I've got a very wide, eclectic thing. Can you help me put together some stuff? Well, no, I don't talk about it. You just send me what it is, and then it's $500, and I'll send you.
And she wouldn't meet with you?
No.
Man.
Wouldn't even call me on the phone. And I'm going, and see, to me, it's like, why do we put up with that?
Why do we?
I don't put up with it. I just, guess what? I'm not in charge. I don't want to be in charge anymore. So I drive a school bus. It affords me time to do other things. I'm learning how to try to turn my 25 acres into a money-making thing, because it's like my
gentleman farmer over here.
Well, no, it's like I used to be a Subway field rep. I took care of 40 stores in the state of Virginia. Met all kinds of wonderful people. The family that owned everything here, they had bought 14th Street. Sid and Anju Tripate. Beautiful people. Still friends with me. They actually loaned me money when I bought the firehouse. Never once questioned, you pay us back when you feel like you can afford it. Blessed. Just blessed with those. But one thing I learned from him, they're from India, and getting into their world, like 14th Street when I started, that place, it was 20% below market. Well, most of the family worked there, and hardworking people. But you got to understand, it's like judging history. It's like you can't judge people 200 years ago by the mentality we have now. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If to properly judge something in history, then you should find 20 things that were daily life as a part of a person and try to understand that and be empathetic towards just that and not use your brain, modern brain, to say what was right and wrong and then judge that. Same thing with sorry.
No problem.
He's got a wiffle bat. Anyway, in India, it's a caste system, so you have extremely rich and extremely poor. The poor work for the rich. Most everybody that comes from China, India, and all that, the Americans around here go, look, they get all that, don't pay tax, whatever. Go research stuff. They do too. But you know why we appropriate money for them? Because they're mostly college graduates. They have stuff like that makes them more important. If I suddenly want to loan you $100,000, you're more than likely going to pay me back. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes perfect sense.
As opposed to podunk George over here that's failed 3 times and took bankruptcy twice. That's what we do. We're trying to bring in smart people to live in this country. So anyway, Sid, what I found out, watching everybody there, the English was very bad. English is super difficult to learn for somebody that's not from here. There, just all the same words that you and I take for granted. They would come up to me and please nobody get upset because I'm going to imitate. But he's like, please, sir, why you use this word I don't understand? It's like, and I went, this is why they're doing bad. They didn't know how to mop the floor. They're not stupid. They're not lazy. They didn't know how to do it. So I went there 2-3 times a week. Even next thing you know, Sid and his family, they're bringing their mom and dad and everybody, and we're having English class about it. And I would say, just write down what you're confused about. And then I would teach them how to enunciate, how to say stuff. Next thing you know, guess what? Wasn't even 6 months later, they were 20% above market. You know why? Because they learned. They put the ones that caught on really quick. They go, how are you, sir? You like your turkey today? It wasn't when I came in there and watched one of the UVA students going, ma'am, I want roast beef. And they're like, yes, turkey, turkey, turkey. They understood. And then they started asking, you want 3 cookies for $1? And I started teaching them to upsell and doing it. Dude, I'm telling you, 6 months, they were 20% above. So that was a 40% increase just by taking interest in those people.
That's a good story.
It is. It really. What I want to say. It really made me feel like that's what you have to do. It's like I came there one day. They said, please, we want you to come to the store. And so I came there, and his father was a shaman, and they blessed me. They did the little thing and did all the little smoke and stuff. And some people would go, "Whoa." That to me was the greatest thing in the world, is that those people trusted me enough, and they were like, you have no skin problem. They could barely speak English, and they would say, you have no skin problem. So.
Can I ask you about the comment? So we had a conversation like we do with all our guests before the show.
Yeah.
What you said about UVA and how they set the scale.
Well, UVA is a great entity, but UVA, the whole time I grew up here, they've always set the wage scale, the minimum wage or whatever, and they're a great college, but I've never been a fan. When I ran for board of supervisors, I went to an assessment meeting. I took pictures on this big screen up there, and I have a funny way when I go somewhere and I don't care if anybody likes it or not. I'm a grown man, but I'll act like I revert back to 6 years old in kindergarten, and I'm in one of these meetings, and I go, you got a question? Yeah, that's what we're taught in kindergarten. You raise your hand, So I asked questions, and they didn't want to answer. So to make a long story short, in the assessment thing, I watched how the assessment, and they just did it last year, and now they just did it again this year, of how they play with the numbers. And wherever is most everything, and you do real estate, so you probably could look, where something is being, a lot of things are being sold, all of a sudden assessments went up 22%. Meanwhile, where I live, mine went down 12%. Now you tell them how my 2 houses and 25 acres go down 12%. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And at that time, they wanted a nickel more for personal property tax. Well, it doesn't take a genius to figure out if I finagle where everything's all of a sudden I got 3,000 homes being built over here.
Right.
And the tax rate's a little bit high, the assessment goes up. If we only put each house up $20,000, wow, I just made 3.8 cents from this one section. But when you bring that stuff up, well, that's not how it works. That's well, golly gee, I can use a calculator on my $1,000 phone and figure it out.
Sure.
But when I was there the next week and we went for the rain tax thing. So I'm watching all this, and I'm watching this lady that was running the thing that had a very controversial embezzlement past, allegedly, or whatever we got to say. But you could look it up in Seville Weekly and The Hook and all. I mean, she had and Neil could probably tell you.
You got the TV, you got NBC 29, Neil Williamson in the Seville watching you here.
Oh, well, and then I saw UVA get up there. And, we were talking about the rain tax, and they had talked about, well, Barracks Road was one of the biggest people.
Rain tax, a controversial topic.
Well, it was just ridiculous to think that you're going to try to tell somebody in Albemarle County, like even, and I hate saying my place, but it's like I asked them, I said, so I got red clay at my house, and most of all Albemarle County is red clay. What is clay? Clay is an impervious surface. That red clay is not even 12 inches down, and it starts. And the farther you dig, the redder it gets, and the thicker it gets. So how are you going to tell me I've got a certain amount of square footage off my two houses, but I got 25 acres around me and tons of trees and bushes and whatever, but how much are you going to pay me because I am, doing the water? I'm filtering the water, and then that's when they brought up Barracks Road and saying that's one of the big proponents for all the oil and the radiator fluid and the asbestos in the brakes and this. And I said, well, it makes sense to me if you're complaining about all that stuff and that's going into stormwater. Why do you want to try to create a whole new system to judge an area when you got 700, almost 800 miles in the county? How are you going to tell me that I owe this amount and then Jerry over here has got a paved driveway that he owes more than I do? Because where he lives, why don't you just tax the cars? I would rather have a $20 extra fee on my car for the county. I said, here's a thought. I said, that sticker that we got, that we don't get anymore, that we get, what is it, $48 now? Extra?
That's an interesting idea.
But you know what I mean? Back when we used to pay that it was $12 or whatever, you got a county sticker.
Sure.
And then the county got in an argument with the county PD. The county PD says, you know what, we're not stopping people anymore, giving them tickets because we're not getting any appropriated funds from that. It's costing our labor. Pulling people over for something that we got nothing to deal with. So then that's when all of a sudden you didn't get, and they used to tell you it's the cost of the sticker. That's what it covers, the cost of the sticker. Well, that's $48 now. That's an extra charge. Where's that money going? Oh, it's an administrative fee? Well, you need to find somebody cheaper to do. I'm already paying this incredible amount over here, But yeah, that's what I said. I said, why not just add it to, because then that way you've got people that go to UVA and anybody that's here, when they have to change their resident or whatever, or if they get something registered here, then they're paying for it. All that extra traffic that we get, and you'll probably be able to pull that up. How many, what does it go up to every time UVA comes back in here? It goes from
25,000 additional students.
Right.
Yeah.
So even if you say, okay, only 15,000 have to pay that extra $20.
Let me throw this to you here. I'm going to paint a picture and get your thoughts.
He's going to paint.
You've got UVA admitting more students than ever before.
Right.
One. You got UVA hiring more people to manage the more students that they're accepting than ever before.
Right.
You got this moniker that Charlottesville's now, and Albemarle County is now called a Zoom town.
A Zoom town.
And a Zoom town is this new moniker that was birthed because of COVID, where people are able to work from an ISP, internet service provider, anywhere they want. but still maintain like a big city check, Northern Virginia, DC firm, New York City firm, whatever it may be. But they come down here for better quality of life, lower cost of living.
Right.
So you got a Zoom town being birthed here. We all know why we live here. The place is awesome. Love to be outside, love the music, love the food, love the restaurants, love downtown, love the people for the most part, love UVA sports. We're fortunate to have real good sports teams. Great place to live. Realtor Magazine recently did a report on the Charlottesville area, second most popular area for baby boomers to move to.
All right.
The Charlottesville area. So this picture I'm painting shows Zoomtown, more students admitted than ever before. Places like Dexcom and Dairy Central are setting up a Charlottesville office, bringing outside folks on the Dexcom family tree to come move here. Joffrey Woodruff, the hedge fund titan across the street, is donated $125 million to UVA to build a data science school.
Cool.
Then he's going to poach that talent from the data science school and use it for his businesses. He built the ice park, converted the ice park, into the code facility, the Center of Developing Entrepreneurs, where he's going to house his businesses. I guess what I'm saying is this area is getting populated so quickly by folks not necessarily from the area that are flooding here because of quality of life. Are we worried about that? What is Charlottesville going to turn into, and how it could impact the Earl Smiths that have been here their entire lives?
Well,
it ain't cheap anymore.
No, and I've told my mom that all the time. We all make jokes about how Lake Monticello is a little Jersey.
Yeah.
And I've met, and you being in real estate, I've met tons of people that they sell their house in DC or Jersey, New York, and they get their $1.2 million or $2 million, and they come down here and they hear me fussing about paying $4,000 a year in taxes. Oh, well, my taxes up there were
$20K plus.
Yeah, and I'm going, well, that's nice. I don't want to live there.
Yeah.
And they're happy to pay. They buy the $400,000 house because and that's what I was getting to. I told my mom, I said, it's just you and I now. This 25 acres is nice, and I've been here since I was 12, but why not learn from those people and get it going to where it's a horse farm, whatever, and end up selling it for a pile of money, and then we'll just move somewhere else.
And what'd she say?
I don't know.
She likes it.
No, she doesn't, because you know what she says? She goes, my mom's so old school Southwest Virginia. She goes, I'd have to get a new doctor, and I'd have to do this, and I wouldn't know where the Walmart's at, and I wouldn't know where. And I said, you know what, Mom? We could sell this place for so much money and go somewhere else and be cheaper living.
Out of the area, so not here. You would move out of Central Virginia. Yeah,
I would find somewhere else that was affordable, like 20 years. When it's the same thing. It's like you go over the mountain.
Waynesboro.
Yeah, or even you go as far as Roanoke. I've seen houses there that need a little bit of work, but I mean, you can score a nice house with 2-3 acres for less than $175,000. So if I sell my place for $700,000,
so you're basically doing what these Yankees are doing.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So, and because I'm 57, it's like, so why? That's what I told her. I said. She goes, well, what would you do? I said, heck, I'd have enough money to live. I could start a little concession trailer, or I could drive school. I mean, I'd already have the money. That's what they do.
Yeah.
So I can't do that on that scale, but I mean, and that's what people have to realize. It's not like me running away, but it's just like you have to look at it. You choose your battles. It's like, hey, am I going to be able to control any? Are you or anybody? That's great what that guy's doing across the street. I wish I could. I'm still quick-witted enough and love to learn. But it's hard for somebody my age to get into something like that, and that's where we go back to like UVA. It's like, so when I left Core Brothers, and I have all this managerial experience, and I've had my own businesses. So we have a great thing in Virginia called they'll retrain you. You go to Workforce Services. So I said, you know what? My mom was a nurse. My ex-wife's a nurse. Why don't I go to nursing school, or maybe be a radiologist or something like that? So I go down there. Every class I ever took at Piedmont, all the Comp 1, gone. It's been over 10 years. Why are you going to tell me I can write a P&L statement? Why do I got to be in Comp 1 with some people that I mean, you could tell me to write 1,000 words on why I like my iPhone, and I can type 60 words a minute. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Why do I got to sit there, as much experience, and I'm not trying to put myself on this big cloud.
Sure.
I don't mind working hard, but what I guess I go back to is I'm trainable. So why would you not take somebody that has great work ethic and has been in their last job over 10, 12 years and been in a position to where you're running complete operations, hire, fire, inventory, bank, all that, and you're going to tell me that you can't train me to be a radiologist? Why wouldn't you take somebody like that? Give me some basic. I went to Piedmont, took the basic stuff. Wow, you can take comp, probably go straight to comp 2. I probably could.
I have no doubt you could.
But you understand, why force somebody? And that goes back to like the Mike Rose and stuff. It's like, why are we so grandioso about, oh, you're a college? It started when I was a kid. You get to be somebody, you got to go to college.
Think that's changing a little bit? I mean, so much
it has now. The young people now,
because they're coming out with massive debt.
Yes,
it's going to take them a couple of decades to pay off.
Tell me how a state-run school cost you now. Back, you're talking about when is in my age group. We'll even say somebody that's 45. Those people could go to college, work part-time, and pay for their college. It's my mom definitely. It was that way.
Yeah.
So,
not anymore.
And when I went to college, I could have worked and went to college and paid and been done and not have this massive debt. I had people that worked for me at Core Brothers that graduated college, could not find a job.
Yeah.
But then you ask them what their college was, and it was like liberal arts or
religious studies.
And I'm going, well, how many jobs is in the United States?
So you're basically saying they made their own bet. Mark Dorsey says, you tell him, Earl.
Yeah. Mark and I would say.
Love you, Mark Dorsey.
Mark and I would sit around and make Ted's head explode all of a sudden, Mabel too.
I got to ask you about Terry here. A lot of folks are asking about Terry and your take on Terry. Before I do, Nicholas Erpy, handshake meant something. Loving this conversation and insight from Earl. Tim Alier, amen, Earl Smith. Preach, preach, preach. 10 states watching you on the program. Robin Grubbs, Daniel Dunbar, Eric LaFontaine, Tara Keene, Carrie Murreen. The list goes on. Rusty Parrott. Funny how many young people don't want to learn a trade anymore either. Robots will run this world.
I'm gonna tell you, Rusty creates. I've known Rusty since I had the firehouse, and him and his boys that do body work and paint. Rusty's probably one of the most innovative young men that I know that creates the most wow.
Dude's got skills.
He does, and to watch somebody like him that is loves what he does and the things that he puts together and creates just because he's passionate, and to see him disheartened about not getting any farther than what he does, and all of us people that know him, we would just try to put him up on a pedestal and say, dude, he is so a good artist and he knows his stuff. He creates some of the coolest things.
I met Rusty. I met you for the first time at the Lazy Parrot Grill, the old one, version 1.0.
Yes.
This is where I met Rusty for the first time. Rusty, that's a name from the past. I miss seeing you around town, son. Sir, Sharon Harris, you go, Earl. Paul Wood, hey, Earl. I mean, I'm looking at the clock for the first time, and we're 90 minutes in.
Yeah.
We're supposed to go an hour. It's a testament to you. You're a fun interview.
Well, thank you.
I would love, if your schedule permits, to be able to do a part 2 with Earl Smith.
I would love it. Yeah, I'm having a good time.
All right, we want to get to a photo we have on screen.
Oh, yes.
Before we do, how about a Buster Fox, great man here. We'll take a shot on anyone to see the great in them. Buster Fox, one of the fantastic pool players.
Oh God, Buster
in this area.
God, Mutt used to bring him in when he was 10.
I met Buster. You know where I met you for the first time? I met you for the first time at Sharky's.
Yes.
And Buster, I think you were like 14 or 15. Playing pool, and I watched you with that stroke you have, sir, and you were just so talented.
Well, he came in the firehouse when I had the 4 tables there, and he would burn them. His mom said, "Can he come play?" And I tell all the grown-ups, I'm like, you just got schooled by a 12-year-old.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Dude's got so many skills here. I mean, learn from Bobby Anderson.
Yes, exactly.
That's a good man to learn from. Poole, a good man to learn from.
It would crack me up. People would do a dancing jig. I beat Bobby Anderson. I'm like, you know what? That man's needed glasses for 15 years.
And you know what? He's still winning paper on a pool table right now. And Bobby's got to be what? 70?
I don't
70
know.
Plus?
Sean Ayers helped him out a lot when they used to go play tournaments over across. And I remember they came into Firehouse one time, and Bobby had these great big giant glasses on, looked like they were that thick. And Sean had bought them for him. And he goes, you would not believe the shots he made now that he could see.
Yeah, that he could see the ball, and he wasn't just playing on field.
Yes, yeah, and those tables were the real tables.
The 9-foot tables.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because the Firehouse and Sharky's tables were the bar boxes.
Yes, the bar boxes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And dude, you had those bar boxes with quarters constantly. All right, before we get to the and Judah, let's see if we can get the photo ready to go here shortly, sir. Judah Whitcower is our fabulous director. How about and we're going to do a part 2 with Earl Smith for all those that are asking here. Buster says we still have to pick Bobby up to take him around to Richmond and whatnot. Laughing. Buster's laughing. Give us something poignant perspective, some final words here. Albemarle County, Central Virginia, Seaville, anything you want to pontificate about. Because I know you're thinking about a lot of stuff constantly.
I just tell everybody, just really, if you don't like what's going on, and I said it, I always say it, spend time in your community, make your community strong, control what is around you, even if that only means your cul-de-sac. You know, formulate that when I grew up, when I got home, that Mrs. Thompson next door would call my mom. Or, you know, and let her know I was safe. Or you all get together and just make sure that you have that bond there. And make sure if you don't like something, you know, if you've got people being hoodlums on your street, if the whole street goes outside and says stop it, them hoodlums gonna stop, you know. Or if you need something brought up, if the sewer busted behind your cul-de-sac, you know, if you've got that power to go sit there and don't be emotional about it, just go, look, here's the facts. This is what it's going to take to fix it. Who do we call? Why aren't you helping me? It's okay to ask for help, you know, and it's okay to be whiny about it. But don't be so whiny that everybody just wants to write you off, you know. And never buy bigger pants. That's what I told my son when he graduated. That's a whole nother story.
You got multiple people asking you to sing on the show here.
No.
Will you sing us a song?
No.
Literally, 10 people.
I'll tell you what. Watch. Here's, and he'll like this. Part 2, I'll sing a song.
That's called a tease in this business.
Yeah.
You don't want to sing right now?
No, part 2, I'll come back and sing a song.
You will sing?
Yes, sir, I will.
All right, he will sing. Judah, let's get this fabulous dog on screen. The show is yours, Earl.
I recently fostered a dog from Dogs Deserve Better, Blue Ridge, and she is wonderful, and she's up for adoption. She's an old lady that's had a lot of trouble, but I tell you what, she is probably the biggest love bug in the world. Anybody, please use a link, or even if you want to foster her, that's what's great about Dogs Deserve Better, or any of the groups that we have around here. You can foster them to see, you know, and they're not going to give you crap about it or anything else. So that's even the best way to do is fill out a foster form, and if you want to hold on to her for 2, 3, 4 weeks and then fall in love with her and decide to keep her, then it's done, you know. But I just decided to take her in an emergency situation. It's my first one I've gotten from them, and they have been the best organization. I took her to the vet yesterday. They pay for everything. They bring me food, anything I need. If I say, hey, her bed, she doesn't like this bed, Roz will get on Chewy and send it to me. You know, so it's a win-win for everybody. So please look at her, and if you need any, just hit me up, and then I'll meet you somewhere and let you meet the little pup.
Dogs Deserve Better, Blue Ridge is fantastic.
Yes.
Earl Smith is fantastic.
Thank you, sir, for having me.
Lynn Culpepper, Earl, you're an inspiration. Angus Arrington.
Angus!
Earl, you sing right now.
Angus.
Valerie Gibson. Would love to hear you sing, Earl. Karen Signer. Come on, sing for us, Earl.
I said part 2.
Part 2. We will promote part 2 well in advance so you can mark on your calendar. In fact, you know what? How does next Wednesday look for your schedule? Same time, same bat station.
What is next Wednesday?
That's the 11th of August.
I'll get back with you.
Okay. I don't mean to put you on the spot.
No.
I just wanted to let the viewers know.
Okay. No, they'll know. You'll get a hold of me and we'll figure it out. I got some stuff. Thank you very much for having me. It was just fun.
It was fun.
Yes.
Dude, you're...
now you're going to teach me how to do my own podcast.
Guys, don't you think Earl Smith would be fantastic at doing a podcast?
I would love it. It would be fun.
And you have so much to offer and to get out there. You see the cameras, you get the microphone, you got the MacBook, you got the stuff already.
Yeah.
From your band days. I'd watch.
Yeah.
I'd watch. We cross-promoted here for you.
Well, see, and that's why all the wineries and breweries get together.
Yeah.
That's why they work so well.
Rising tide is good for all ships.
Exactly. It's awesome. So anyway.
Part 2 with the stakeholder, with the maverick, with the entrepreneur, with the influencer coming up, guys. This is the I Love Seaville show. In about 53 minutes, we're going to do our animal show. And maybe what we do is we plug this Foster on What's Barking Local J-Dubs at 3 o'clock. Earl Smith is A-plus people. All we're trying to do in this set and on this show is to feature the best of Charlottesville, the best of Central Virginia. And doesn't Earl Smith embody that moniker, guys?
Thank you very much.
For Judah, for Earl, I'm Jerry. Thank you for joining us on a Wednesday. Take care, guys.
Thank you, buddy. Yes, it was.
Dude, this is the longest show we've ever done.
Oh, my goodness.
Because normally it goes 12:30 to 1:30. It's 2:07 right now.